Right, yeah, okay. Right, Audacity's doing it. This is doing something. Oh, no! Fuck! No! Right, hang on. Oh, I've just broke everything.
What?
I ain't put my...
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. You've unplugged it. Mm-hmm. Bet you haven't said that before.
Not for years. Hello and welcome all into the MO podcast. As always, you're here with me, Consummation.
And me, Atreya.
And today we are going to be talking about The Watcher.
Oh.
Now, this was suggested by Vertigo Jack, but it has been on my radar for quite a while because it is just such an interesting story, I suppose. And obviously, no one can afford to buy a house anymore, so this will hopefully make you all feel better that you can't afford to buy one because of what actually happens. Now, full disclaimer, Netflix have beat us to this one. So,
What?
yeah, we can't.
God damn it.
Makes
That
a
was the first
fucking
time
change.
for everything,
Exactly.
I suppose.
Exactly. There you go. It makes a change, doesn't it, for some things? But yeah.
Curse you, Netflix.
God damn it. You're always one step ahead. Would have got away with it if it wasn't for you, damn Netflix. So, in 2014, the Broaddus family bought a house in the affluent suburb in Westfield, New Jersey. I never knew there were any decent places in New Jersey, to be quite honest with you, from what I've
Never
seen
been, so.
from TV. But yeah,
Right, okay.
I mean, Atlantic City. That's my knowledge of New Jersey. So
Fair enough.
sorry for offending you all there. Now, Maria Broaddus grew up just a few streets away from the actual house that they bought, and Derek has worked his way up in the insurance company that he was working in to finally be able to afford the $1.3 million house. So they both had finally found their dream home, and there it is. That is the actual house, and it is a fancy thing, to be honest with you. A bit overkill, really, but
Is it though?
I mean,
If you've got the money.
well, we may talk about that later. So even before they'd actually moved in, they received a strange and puzzling letter, and it began: "Dearest new neighbour at 657 Boulevard, allow me to welcome you to the neighbourhood." Now, that sounds quite nice. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, sometimes when you move into a new place, sometimes you get a cake or a house plant from the neighbours or something.
I don't know. I didn't even think that was a British thing, because
Yeah, I know. I don't think it is. No one's ever done that for me.
British people aren't that nice.
Yeah. I mean,
They buy
maybe.
cakes, they buy it for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they already know me before I moved in, so maybe that's the reason why. But the letter went on to ask if 657 Boulevard had called out to them. The letter goes on: 657 Boulevard has been the subject of my family for decades now, and as it approaches its 110th birthday, not that old, got no history, have they, really?
No,
I mean,
never.
I have been put in charge of watching and waiting for its second coming.
It's second coming.
Yeah, a bit biblical in it.
I was going to say, what is it? The Antichrist?
Yeah. The letter goes on, my grandfather watched the house in the 20s, and my father watched the house in the 60s. It is now my time. Do you know the history of the house? Do you know what lies within the walls of 657 Boulevard? Why are you here? I will find out.
Because we just thought it was a nice place to raise the kids, some nice schools. Like, it doesn't really go any... It's not sinister.
Yeah, I mean, apart from schools, good public transport links or motorway links, whatever, I don't think there is that much thought in going to buying a house, is there really?
I mean, they didn't move into the fucking Amityville house. Do you know, like...
This is it. It's like, the house was for sale, they bought it, surely that's the way it works. That's
if
all.
I got one of those letters when I moved in, and my neighbour was all like, "Why have you moved here?" I'd be like, "Why the fuck is it any of your business?"
Yeah, just put it straight in the
Leave me alone.
recycle tray like that. Boom, see ya.
Yeah.
So, the letter was signed, The Watcher. Well, very enigmatic of them. The police were called and questions were asked, but because no crime was committed, nothing was actually done. They couldn't do anything about it. But the police did say not to mention anything to the local community, as it could be any one of them. So they were all technically suspects, so they didn't really want them being tipped off. And if they were going to receive further letters, then maybe the police could use that.
Wouldn't you want to ask the community, like, "Hey, you
What
know
the
this
fuck?
big
Yeah.
old house that I moved into? Did anybody was there any weird, serial murders or any horrible deaths, any dismemberment, abandoned babies,
That's it.
anything?"
Surely, like, I mean, you've got to let people know if there's been suicides or murders or ghosts in the house. Surely you'd have to be let known if there was like a watcher of your house.
Legit, right? If I'd got that letter, I would have gone to the whole community first, and then gone to the cops. And then when the cops are like, "Keep it to yourself, because everyone's a suspect. Let's not tell anybody." Be like, "Whoa, dude!" Already told the whole neighborhood, like everybody, legit, everyone.
You'd be banging on the doors, wouldn't you? You're next to the
Yeah.
neighbour's house, like, do you know what this is? What's this about? What's happening? But then the family, in the next week, the family were invited to a barbecue for one of their neighbours to kind of welcome them to the neighbourhood. And they were told about certain individuals in the neighbourhood that hung around. Now, there was an odd family that lived down the street, and these were the Langfords. Now, Peggy Langford was in her 90s, and that's not strange at all. But she had several of her adult children who were in their 60s who lived with her.
Just move out, get a job,
Yeah.
start your life.
Yeah. When you get to, I can see one of them, maybe two at a stretch, because she's 90 years old, looking after her. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, if in that case, in that kind of scenario, you move your mum in with you, kind of thing, and then but they never moved out. So, bit weird. And her son, Michael Langford, who didn't work, suffered from... There's a lot of things out there that say he had issues, but I did read he was suffering from schizophrenia, but it was diagnosed when he was very young, and he'd not had any episodes of it. But he did have a habit...
Does it ever go away?
Well, this is it. And he did have a habit of spooking local residents out by basically being on their property and just staring through their windows.
But that's just rude.
Yeah. I mean, there is... Other people in the neighbourhood did say he was quite a nice guy. He'd, like, get the papers unprompted. He'd come round with candy and stuff like that on occasion. But it's like swings and roundabouts, innit? He's staring in your window with a box of candy like that. I got candy for you.
I think maybe he just sounds like a lonely, harmless old man who has just spent too long living with his mom. He's Ed Gein before
That, that
Again.
that could be it. It could be more of a sheltered lifestyle rather than anything else. But over the next few weeks, the Broadduses received a further 2 letters. Now, the first referenced their 3 children, which was a bit weird. They were all under 11 years old. And the letter actually says, "Do you need to fill the house with the young blood I requested?"
Wait, could they have meant like the singer Youngblood? Because I'm quite into him.
Well,
Blast the tunes! There's someone's shouting across the street.
this was 2014. Was he about then?
Oh, I don't know whether he was born then.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. He's a young'un, isn't he? Hence the name. So, yeah. And the letter goes on. Was your old house too small for the growing family? Or was it greed to bring me your children? Once I know their names, I will call them and draw them to me. So he's kind of going down a dark path here, really, with it. He started out quite light with the welcoming into the neighbourhood, and now he's like, "I'm gonna kill your children."
Is it the same guy though? Is it definitely the same guy? Is it not like 2 people and one of them's a psycho who like nicks kids like the Pied Piper, and the other one is like the guy that protects everybody from the Pied Piper?
Well, this is it. I mean, it could also be a person with dissociative identity disorder as well. So
Well, that's a bit more boring than like,
well,
a villain and a superhero kind of deal. I was going for that kind of angle.
yeah, but bear in mind, no one in the community at this point knows that they've received these letters. So
they say.
Well, yeah. So they've not gone round and gone, "Oh, we've got this letter, but don't tell anyone." And then someone's gone, "You know what I'll do for a laugh? I'll send them a letter and tell them I'm going to kill their children."
I mean, there is definitely people in the neighborhood that would totes do that kind of thing.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
we're one of them.
Yeah, exactly. I'd be like, "This will be hilarious."
Yeah.
And then he'd come to you because he'd be like, "You're the only one I've told. I've got another one, and it's fucking scary." He'd be like, "Oh, tell me what it said."
You think this one's scary?
Yeah, I'd be
Got
taking notes.
a few horror movies to watch tonight for some ideas.
I'd be taking notes like, "What part of it did you find scary? Oh, that bit. Oh, I'll keep that in for the next one." What? So...
Invite them round your house and they're just flipping through your magazines like, why is there loads of letters missing in these magazines?
Why have all these pictures of women got their eyes cut out? I don't just... What's that about? Collage. I'm a massive collager.
Love it. Mm-hmm.
So the second one also asked about their daughter that they had seen painting on a porch. So this porch, it wasn't visible from the street. So it kind of narrows down where this person was looking for them. So it basically said, "I saw your daughter painting on the porch. Is she the artist of the family?" It's like, okay, fine. And in this one as well, it also referenced the previous owners. Now it says the Woods family turned it over to you. It was their time to move on and kindly sold it when I asked them to. So the previous owners apparently have had contact with this person, or that's what this person is saying, at least. Now, Derek contacted the Woods about this, and they did concede that they had received a letter a few days before they moved out. But because it was because they're normal, they just went, "It's fucking ramblings of a mental person." Yeah, just put it in the bin, kind of thing. But they said in 23 years of living there, they'd never had anything like that before. That was the first, last letter that they'd ever had. So they didn't even have the letter as evidence because they were just like, "This is nonsense."
So I have an issue with that, right? So this person who's wrote the letter is now like, "I was in contact with the last family and they sold the house when I asked them to. But why did you move into a house that's up for sale? Why would you even do that?" Like,
Because
why are you badgering me for moving into a house that was for sale when you asked them to sell it?
For a start,
you're hoping was going to buy it. Vincent Price.
Yeah, for a start, you're contradicting yourself, mate. Let's keep the story straight here, right? You wanted it to be sold, and now you're pissed off that someone's bought it. Come on.
Exactly.
You can't have your cake and eat it.
I'm sensing a flaw in their plan.
Yeah, they're not. Well, yeah, we'll see. So, Derek contacted the Woods family about this, obviously, and they did actually go to the police with the Broadduses, but obviously nothing kind of came of it. But the Broadduses did actually sue them for not actually declaring this.
Wow.
Like when the Woods are trying to sell their house, they're like, yeah, it needs a little bit of work. I mean, look, the cove in there needs a little bit of work. I mean, do a little bit of digging in the garden. We've got someone that watches the house and sends letters to us every now and then, but don't worry about that.
They're always on about nicking the kids, but just ignore them. You want to be worried about the asbestos and the Artex on this ceiling. Honestly, it goes on for days.
I tell you, and the parking round here. Whew. So they actually, it was a nothing lawsuit. I don't think they got anything from it, because obviously it's not a suicide, a murder, or a ghost, so they didn't really need to.
That's mean though. That's like,
it's kind of petty.
You know, will you come to the police with us because we're getting harassed by some weirdo? Of course we will. Absolutely. Great. So we can't do anything about it. Oh well, fuck you. We're gonna sue your asses then.
That's it.
What?
You go if they went, no, nothing to do with us. We've moved on. We're retired in Boca Raton now. We're not having anything to do with that. Then you'd kind of go, maybe that's a little bit of a case. But they actually went with you and went, yeah, we got this letter, but it was the first time in 23 years. And then Broaddus has just turned around and gone, fuck you. We're suing you. Like, okay.
I don't.
So it's a weird one, that one. And then, so 3 years had passed without a letter. Now, in this 3 years, the Broadduses never actually moved in because they were so put off by the letters they were receiving. What they did do, they did rent it out to people. Well, in fact, what they tried to do, they tried to have the house torn down and on the plot of land have 2 houses built there. But because they were, I think they were 3 foot longer than the houses in the area were going to be, the housing association of the area said no.
Wouldn't that just mean that the Watcher's watching 2 houses and terrorizing 2 families instead of 1?
Double is fun. Why not? I mean, yeah.
That makes 0 sense to me at all.
I think maybe the thought process on it is like they'd live in one and they'd have a renter in the other, so like an Airbnb, so they're making some passive income off it. I mean, that's speculation, obviously. Or they were going to sell.
Their children are being terrorized.
Well, yeah, whilst
we're making money, so
someone in the bushes with a telescope, like. But
they would have been a lot smarter if they just asked the person to here's the names of my kids, put it like on their driveway or something, so that whoever the person is can just pick the letter up, and then go, if you could just shout them when you're near, when you want to learn their names, and you come and shout them and they'll come to you, and then we'll just follow them to your house. Know who you are.
Yeah, that's a massive hole in his plan, isn't it? Really?
Beyond the realms of possibility.
Didn't think they'd follow him. Like, hello, we've got to keep them locked indoors all the time. Keep our eyes on them. If anyone shouts them, we won't look at them. Just drags them off the street like that.
Follow them across the road.
It's you, isn't it?
Obviously, this is. I don't rate these parents.
No, I knew it was you. Fuck you know. So basically, they weren't allowed to do this. They'd had $100,000 of renovation done, so this house was just sitting empty, basically. So they did rent it out, and because it kind of received a little bit of press attention at the time, they did put a proviso in the lease that if they received a threatening letter, then they could void the contract straight away, these renters. So do you know what happened?
They got a letter.
Yeah. So Derek went round to pick up some mail, and the owner was the renter was there, and he went, "This has come for you." And it starts out, "To the vile and spiteful Derek and his wench of a wife Maria." So he's a bit upset, I think, from the tone.
Wench. I love it.
Yeah. Old English as well. It's like, it's quality. It's not like whore. It's proper wench.
I love it.
Captain Jack here.
Uh-huh.
The letter goes on. 657 Boulevard is turning on me. It is coming after me. I don't understand why. What spell did you cast on it? It used to be my friend. Now it's my enemy. So
What?
yeah, a lot of things going on here, really. Like, I mean, he thinks a house is his friend. I don't. Yeah. Now, at the time, a few other neighbours did receive letters, and these letters were signed "Friends of the Broaddus family." Now, this may have been because after the whole hoo-ha with the try to pull down the house and rebuild it and them not letting it go through, a few people in the neighbourhood were kind of against the Broadduses. One of them wrote on Facebook, "I wish we could go back to the days of tar and feathers. I have just a couple in mind." So...
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on if it's like maybe it was a nice little community and they got a lot of press, and then it was suddenly flooded with tourists and hooligans and media, and everyone was just like, "Oh, get out of my fucking neighborhood! You are ruining my perfect step and my picket fence."
So that it's kind of one of them things. Yeah, I kind of get that. If you go into a neighborhood where you're not welcome, kind of thing. Like if I rocked up in an affluent neighborhood, I'd be out straight away, kind of thing. But
I think as well, it's like just strangers, isn't it?
But Maria had grown up in this area. She had
yeah.
grown up around here. So, and this is one of the things like that was said at this. I don't know if it was at the committee when they said no or when they started putting these comments on Facebook. But she kind of said like, "I'm one of your own. I grew up around here. Fair enough. I moved away, but I was always going to come back because this is my home. And now you're turning on me and letting this person take over our lives," kind of thing. So she was a local person. It kind of doesn't, for me, like if they were complete strangers, complete unknown, then you go, yeah, it's a hot fuzz situation, one of us, kind of thing. But it's not. I mean, I don't know.
I don't know if I'm jumping the gun here, but like I'm assuming the house probably cost quite a bit of money.
Yes, it did. It was 1.3 million.
Could it not be like maybe they were trying to recoup costs by going, "Hey, let's sell our story to the paper," like put some weird shit on a spooky you've been framed, 250 quid in it.
Exactly, yeah. Beadle will come round, shake your hand. Ooh, don't touch me with that.
Little hand. Just a little T-Rex hand.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that could actually be what we end up talking about in about 2 minutes. Because Detective Brain there, jumping way ahead. But so when they received these letters, experts were brought in. And one was a letter writing expert, which I would assume is a postman. But don't know. So
true story.
Yeah, they know all about letters, don't they? I mean, that's what I go with. So they said the sender was an older person because the sentences, you'll love this, you will love this. The sentences were double spaced.
Oh.
See?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wait a second. How did they deduce that was an older person? I'm 36. I don't constitute as an older person because I use double space. It's double space.
Old
it's always
soul.
Been double space. It always will be double space, and that's an old.
Old soul. And they always reference the weather in the letters. So
that's just British, though, isn't it?
I think it's a very specific type of old person, though, isn't it? It's just.
I don't know. I used 2 spaces, and I literally went into the office this morning and went, "Oof, cold out there, isn't it?" That's the first thing I said. So,
I mean, yeah, that is true.
it could have been me.
It could have been. It could have been. Gee, we broke this case wide open. Here we go.
Would your first thought not be like to look at the handwriting on the letter and see if it's like cursive?
It was typed. So all these letters.
Oh shit! Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they were all typed, and they were all posted locally. They weren't hand delivered. They were sent. They were put in the mail. They put a stamp on it, and they were posted locally from New Jersey. So.
Were they typed on a typewriter or a PC?
So, a PC, I would assume a PC, because The Watcher was signed in a cursive font. So I don't know how you do that. It wasn't
Comic Sans.
Yeah, so I don't know how you do that on a typewriter, but maybe. I don't know. I've not used one for a few weeks. So, not that I'm old. So, Derek also reached out to the former FBI agent who served as the inspiration for Clarice Starling. Just gonna let that hang there. Yeah, apparently they were on a high school board of trustees together. Now, that is kind of unbelievable for me to kind of believe. But then with what we'll jump into in a bit, it may be kind of like, I see why you've done that. So there was loads of suspects. So the suspects were coming in thick and fast. There was a couple that lived near the Broaddus's, and they had 2 foldaway chairs set up to look at 657 Boulevard. Not at the street, not at what's going on, just directly pointed at the house. So
maybe it was in the direction of the sun. Maybe they were catching rays.
It could have been, but apparently this is what the private investigator that Derek brought in said. He went, "That's a bit odd. It's just they're just pointed at you."
Here's the thing. What about if they didn't want everyone in the street watching them sit on their chairs, just minding their own business? Maybe they were trying to stay out of the way of everybody else, not the other way around.
That's it, and that's the thing. With the Watcher, works both ways, doesn't it, Derek? You can't be watching other people and then complain when someone watches you.
Exactly.
Just saying. Take it on board, mate. Whatever. Practice what you preach, yeah?
Yes, exactly.
So, there was also a gentleman who would walk around the neighbourhood playing the flute.
I was going to say playing the fruit. Oh, it's definitely him.
Yeah. This is not a real picture, by the way. That is not of the person. But it could be. I don't know. I wasn't there. But apparently he just wandered around the neighbourhood. Just
playing a banana.
Yeah, why not?
Just playing the flute. I don't think that's strange.
I personally don't think it's strange. There's a lot of context that's needed behind it as well. Mm-hmm. So, was he doing it in his pants? Was he...
Yeah, it depends what he's wearing.
Exactly. Like, did he have a load of kids following him? You know?
Defo him.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of red flags from that, but if he's just playing music as he's walking around, like...
They're so jumping to conclusions. They're jumping to people minding their own business in their backyard, just sat enjoying the sun. People just rando playing the flute because that's what they like doing. Nobody complained when Lisa Simpson did it.
Well, yeah.
With the sax. She did that all over the fucking shop, didn't she?
No one complained when Bill Clinton did it, which they should have done, really. He should have been running the country rather than saxophoning and cigaring. And obviously the Langfords were kind of suspects number 1, but they were ruled out via DNA evidence. So they got DNA evidence off the envelope because it wasn't really yeah, exactly. I didn't really want to do that, but there you go. That'll be on our Patreon. So the DNA that they pulled off this was female, and Michael's sister Abby was ruled out when her DNA was checked by using a water bottle. Now, that says to me that she didn't willfully have her DNA checked. They just found a water bottle, picked it up and went, can check that.
Uh-huh.
So...
Why didn't they just ask her then? Just like, well, I mean, this is stupid because it clearly wasn't you, but just to rule you out, are you okay with the DNA test? If she had nothing to hide, she'd have just been like, yeah, okay, weirdo.
Exactly. I mean, they were questioned. Yeah, they were... Patron. They were questioned. And Abby kind of accused the Broadduses of being on a witch hunt against her family just because they were a little bit different from the normal family that may be there. Like I say, no one else... The only reason why this family was odd, quote marks, is because all the adult children, not all of them, but several adult children lived at home. And
could she not have like gone, yeah, I'll do a DNA test, and then it will come up negative, like it will come up not a match, and then she could go, now I'm going to sue your asses for, you know, picking on us,
harassment,
discriminating like on us because we're a bit odd.
I mean, she could have done, but to be honest with you, I kind of get where she's coming from if she actually said no, because it's just like spiteful. It's like, no, fuck you. Live with not knowing. I prefer you not to know, dickhead. Every time I walk past your house, I'm gonna look in your window. Have your neck curtains
up. Set me deck chair up outside in the street.
So they were all kind of no suspects. Now, this in something that we were kind of talking about earlier, and it's kind of like an M. Night Shyamalan twist. The Broadduses were actually accused of sending these letters to themselves. Now, a lot of people in the neighbourhood still kind of question it to this day, if you believe what people on Reddit say. But, yeah, there was a lot of questions about how they could move from a $315,000 house, $315,000 house, to a $770,000.
$750,000.
Yeah, exactly, $750,000 to a house which was 1.3. I should roll it like that. To a house which was 1.3 million, and they did this by refinancing their mortgages. Now, they could have realised as soon as they got there that they were in trouble and they needed to get out of Dodge. So they did put $100,000 into this house, and the asking price when it went up was 1.4 million. So I'm not saying they were looking to make millions on it, but they were looking to make a profit on what they put into it and what they bought it for. Mm-hmm. Now, there was also talk about them trying to create a narrative to be able to sell their film rights to a studio, which, quelle surprise,
funny that
has happened. Yeah. So there's a lot of things are kind of like stacking up against them, and Derek did admit to sending letters, the letters which were signed Friends of the Broadduses, to other people in the neighbourhood. Now, he was frustrated and he was having a hard time and whatever, but I don't really see how that vindicates him when they're trying to go after someone who has mental health issues. I don't really... If you break the law to catch a criminal, aren't you a criminal?
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? It's like you can't... You need to fight fair, or else you're going to get pulled apart by it.
Even though technically you'd be a vigilante and that's kind of cool. But yes, no, it's still breaking the law.
Yeah, no, exactly. Batman's a prick. But he gets away with it because he's rich. Yeah. So this is the thing. Like, I think especially when you pull in like the Clarice Starling reference and the all the things. I don't think it really looks good for
No.
the Broadduses, and they have sold the rights to Netflix. Now, obviously I don't know how much they are gonna make off it, but they did end up selling 657 Boulevard. They were asking 1.4, but they just got shy of $1 million for it. Now, the person that owns it, or who the new owners, have been there since last year, and they haven't received any letters so far.
Weird that, isn't it?
Yeah, so the story's kind of petered out now. Uh, so,
I hope the Netflix film gets like a 1 out of 10 on Rotten Tomatoes.
yeah, it's kind
We're
of...
still going to watch it though.
Yeah, of course.
Not going to lie.
Yeah, see how we could have done it better. But I think it's a long con to do that, really. Like to set it up and go, you know what? We can't afford this. How do we get out of this? We'll start sending letters.
It's a real cheap, easy. I mean, I guess like, like the people that get put in council houses that have fallen apart and all gone to shit, and then they say that their house is haunted, and they set up like strings on chairs
God,
and
yeah,
things like that, and they video.
You're just talking about Zach now, aren't you? Talking about Baggins.
No, like legit, like there's been it was always in like the Sun or the Star or any of them tabloid papers, and it's always like my council house is haunted, and it's because they want to be upgraded to a council house that isn't shit.
Yeah.
And quite often the council are like, you know what? Yeah, we should have checked that ghost problem when it was a void. So yep, we'll upgrade you, and they've moved them out. Like, I guess sending letters is a lot cheaper than, fish wire and setting up video cameras and then having it debunked by everybody on the internet. I mean, how can you debunk a letter unless you're like holding it in your hand?
That's the thing, especially when there's no, because there's no other clues apart from the DNA on it, and it never actually said if Maria was tested for her DNA, whether that came in.
It's a lot harder to do like shit online and stuff. People pull it apart on the internet, the videos, or if you send like dodgy emails, you just get your IP hacked and traced back. So
yeah, you get doxxed straight away, don't you? Really?
Yeah,
I mean, you can't.
So letters like
you can't even write anything on Reddit without like going through a VPN in Malaysia or something, because they'll be like, "That's bullshit. I'm gonna dox you."
Oh my god, they are brutal on Reddit, aren't they?
Yeah.
Absolutely fucking brutal.
Yeah. I hope they never find us. Okay, now. But yeah, so it's like you say, it's not unprovable, but it's a letter. You know what I mean? No crime's been committed. So why the police gonna look into it? And in fairness, there is an article that I'll link down below, and it's on thecut.com, and it's very pro Broaddus's, but it's like Derek's story, and I think it's the basis of whatever Netflix are going to do, to be honest with you. But he does say on there that he's private detectives, handwriting experts, they did try and find this person and whatever, but
how do you know that the experts just weren't, friend at family?
Well, exactly. Apparently, Clarice is a friend of the family, so
so somebody could employ me as a private detective. I'll be good at it. I'm not Elliot Ness.
Yeah. Exactly. That's the thing. It's like what's the fucking thing? Oh yeah. Why if you've vaccinated, why are you still getting COVID? It's like, yeah, well, me and Ronaldo play football. You know what I mean? It's like I play football, Ronaldo plays football. There's just levels of it, and then really, it's like at least I'm not gonna be fucking on a respirator if I got COVID. Anyway.
True. But you are now technically microchipped, so.
Like I said, I don't care. Just fucking. I'll get. You know what? I'll get through passport control. Piss easy.
True.
Don't care.
Unless you're on the run.
Oh shit. Oh. Oh, that means I've got to be good. Oh, fucked. How do you delete your browser history?
How do you delete the microchip in bed?
Google.
Put it next to a big magnet. Put your hand next to a big magnet. It might just wipe itself.
Google burn hard drive. No. No.
Too much goodness on there.
Yeah, no, God, no. It's all legal. What? Anyway, so Peggy Langford and Michael Langford actually died early last year. So even if they were, I mean, they were both 90. Well, not both, but Peggy was 90 odd, and Michael obviously was suffering from issues. And apparently he was in a hospice towards the end. But they did die quite close to each other. Peggy died in February or March, and then Michael went in April. So it's kind of like, it does go with that sheltered life thing, because he just couldn't cope without her, maybe. Obviously, it's me just guessing on that one. But
sad.
Yeah, I mean, 60, you've still got quite a lot of life to live, unless you've properly abused your body, and then this guy, and then
we both living on borrowed time.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, 38. Jesus Christ, every day I get is a win.
38, me arse.
38 natural lifespan for humans.
Oh, right,
so
yeah.
Every day after that.
Say, who are you trying to kid?
Right,
I love it, really.
Fair enough, yeah. So, so yeah, it's an interesting one, and maybe Netflix will solve it. No, they won't. Not without us.
They definitely won't.
Not without us. But
they need to write us. Write us a letter.
Well, as long as we can trace it. I mean, Netflix are watching us, right? Fucking hell.
They're like, yeah, they've got some good ideas. We never thought about that.
That's it, Jesus. But yeah, so I don't know. It seems very suspect to me, and what
I would do if I couldn't afford a house that I wanted to live in.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, for me, I would. Do you know what? I'd just get the paraffin out and just, insurance claim in it.
I don't know. Do insurance claims cover that much?
Well, I suppose.
And there'd be a proper investigation into that. If like a $1.3 million house burned to the ground, they'd be like, would it have been arson before we pay out?
Do you know what I'd do? I'd leave one of the kids inside just to throw them off my scent. I'd never do that.
Which one do you like the least? Who's your least favourite kid?
I'd never do that.
I just think like, get media attention, pull an Amityville, and then get movie rights. You're not harming anybody. You haven't like done anything illegal. It's hard to trace back.
That's it. No law has technically been broken in the whole of this escapade. So it's just a little bit of fibs, isn't it? Really. So
I mean, they were off to a slow start because they didn't have Ed and Lorraine to give them that little booster to start with,
Yeah.
Although I guess they probably could. They could have rang Lorraine, though, couldn't they?
Yeah, she was still bobbing
on.
Alive yeah. Maybe they did. Maybe they did, and she went, "No, you don't want to do that. It's too on top. What you do, send a letter." Lorraine was part of this. Drag the Warrens into this now. Fuck. She's like, you know what I'd do? I mean, obviously, hypothetically.
Or the amount of shit she's had since Amityville, she just answered the phone and went, fuck off. Put it down. So this was like their backup plan.
Yeah. We can't get the Warrens in. We'll just send a letter. Easier, innit? Cheaper.
Yeah. Real.
But yeah, so on that bombshell, that has been the MO podcast with me, Consummation Ant.
And me, Atreya.
Thank you all so much for joining us, and we shall see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
The MO podcast. The MO podcast. The MO podcast. The MO podcast.